Poverty has been a persistent challenge in Nigeria. This is despite previous governments' efforts on poverty eradication. This deplorable condition has led to hunger, insecurity, high cases of maternal and infant mortality, diseases related to poor environmental condition, low school attendance and completion rates, poor means of livelihoods, lack of access to health facilities, and negative coping mechanism. Though previous social safety nets had existed in the country but could not yield the desired impact due to poor planning, coordination, targeting, and implementation. The federal government of Nigeria, in order to reduce the rising level of poverty and economic vulnerability in the country, established the National Cash Transfer Office through the National Social Safety Nets Project (NASSP) under the supervision of the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development. The ministry was created with the mandate to develop humanitarian policies, coordinate national and international humanitarian intervention, ensure strategic disaster mitigation, preparedness, response, and manage formulation and implementation of fair focused social inclusion and protection programs in Nigeria. The Cash Transfer Program was conceived as part of the federal government's large growth inclusivity and social inclusion policy aimed at addressing key social challenges facing the country.
The beneficiaries of the Household Uplifting Program, otherwise known as the Conditional Cash Transfer, are the poorest of the poor and the most vulnerable households in Nigeria. And this household is being mined from the National Social Register based on an eligibility criterion. The register is a register of poor and vulnerable households are built using globally acceptable target modalities, and beneficiaries are selected using community-based targeting process, which allows community members themselves to identify those that are poor and vulnerable amongst them.
When Mr. President said he's going to put in place a mechanism to remove 100 million people out of poverty by 2030. It's not a journey of one day.
The implementation structure has literally reached every state of the Federation, and strategically it has targeted the poorest of the poor, people who never had access to cash in the first place. And now they have some money monthly.
The Cash Transfer Program is a novel idea of the federal government of Nigeria. It's one of the programs that has been able to interact directly with the poor in the most remote part of this country. It has been able to identify those who are really in need, interact with them, understand the scope of their lives, and find out ways in which they could transform their lives from poverty to a sustainable livelihood. The Cash Transfer Program is a rare intervention that has come, we believe, to stay, especially as we've experienced the changes it has brought to many societies in different parts of the communities in the country.
The NASSP has two implementation units: the National Social Safety Net Coordinating Office, NASSCO, and the National Cash Transfer Office, NCTO. NASSCO is responsible for building the National Social Register, NSR, consolidation of existing social safety nets programs, and setting standards, amongst others, at the federal level.
The National Social Register is a register of poor and vulnerable households in Nigeria. It is first a state asset and a national asset. What it does for us is to help us increase targeting efficiency for identifying poor and vulnerable households for interventions across social safety net programs and also social protection programs. The register, the targeting mechanism under the register ensures that the poorest of the poor are actually targeted. And then as a result of that, the resource allocation is able to reach the poorest people, and then opportunities and interventions are able to reach the poorest of the poor and increase efficiency of the programs. But more importantly, I think it reduces cost of programming, it increases efficiency of targeting, but also ensures that the poor, we're able to reduce poverty by the targeting efficiency, by ensuring that it is the poorest that receive opportunities, receive resources, receive intervention, and also are able to be reached more efficiently.
It will make you happy to know that Nigeria has the largest social register in the whole of Africa, and one of the best, competing with China and Brazil and India. Those are older data sets. Ours is new. The trajectory of development is unparalleled.
While NCTO implements the Conditional Cash Transfer Program with the catchphrase, "Better don't come," it is responsible for the delivery of cash and in-kind transfers to targeted poor and vulnerable households mined from the National Social Register, NSR, in a way that is accessible to beneficiaries and with benefit levels that are consistent with project development objectives. The program is being implemented as the federal government's flagship program and is identified in the National Social Protection Policy, NSPP, as one of the federal government-led social protection programs.
The National Cash Transfer Office has given us the opportunity to interact directly with beneficiaries over the years. We've been able to see how their lives have evolved from low poverty levels to that of taking their children to school, developing their trade. Possibly the caregivers, who are mostly predominantly women, have been able to rise their standards of living.
At the commencement of the program, we had an initial target of 1 million households to be enrolled on the program, but we have gone past that target. The program has now enrolled almost 2 million households across the 36 states and the FCT. Institutionally, the project has well-established structures in the states and local governments for outreach and sustained engagements with beneficiaries. Through these structures, the state beneficiary registers are built, which cumulatively forms the National Beneficiary Register. This has facilitated financial inclusion of 2 million beneficiary households. Robust payment systems, fully digitized to the last mile, and robust grievance redress mechanisms also, with a call sorting center. And what is most important about our success is the impact of the program on the lives of this very special category of people across the country. And seeing lives changing is more rewarding and fulfilling. And beneficiary households who had nothing before they started benefiting from this program established their sustainable means of livelihood from the stipends they receive, which is truly very satisfying.
I born 10 children. I was not able to send them to school. So even to eat, we were not able to eat. Since government coming, with the little money they had to make, I've been able to sell this market than before. Because before I was just selling them little. So now I've seen improvement in my market. So I thank government.
Ụmụaka wee bidokwali juba afọ. Mweje na-ego akpụ n'ana. Ngo akpụ erota nya ntu a. Abanye nya 4 days. Ayo nya supply ya ndị na-asụ ebinye ndị hotel. Anyị wee na-erijuzi afọ. O wee dịla anyị mma. Anyị na-eriju afọ. Nke ọzọ, mụnwa jikwa ego ma na-arụ ọrụ ugbo
Na samu ci gaba sosai don a lokacin nan ma da yara ba makaranta, amma wannan tallafin gwamnatin ne ya sa har aka samu damar sa su a makaranta. Suna yin makaranta yanzu sosai, ana biya musu kuma kam a cikin wannan tallafin da muke samu. Bacin haka har na samu kuma na sai wannan sana'a da nake yi.
Papa me da nesa. Aku mana da ina ren. Di ma ba na. De me se va yeka, e va de ke hono nan. Ma ko mori ya vai ma do an. Di me na sumoto kokon. De mana. Now, e me va na de me twajo. Ajo de me to. Me se me na immunity. Da va yeka ma he. Imi machine nan. De ma se men. E me ava mo koro nan. Ma show me. Di mi ku no. Customer na va yo. O ave. De me here do him. Over for. De me na nayo. Mara be de me hiru. Ma anyi ira change. Oni ma say, oni ma na. De mare na. Ina oni mare an. Ana botomo wo, mare twajo. Ana revo. Dem lesero wo. De mare se ma hyokosa. Me ava me ina ni mle sheke hora twike school ojem. Oji ani ma pa hearing. Anu kalam do 12 an. Do be de himba. Oto ni ma na inose. Go 2,000 naira again. Ma ko mori ya bo. Ama bana re ko waka me. Awoka be se wa. Be ya se ba ma.
In 5 years, we've been able to see them rise from the minimal ways of life to a more sustainable livelihood.
The impact initially, people will think is that person who is getting the 5,000 per month. But by implication, that 5,000 gets amplified because the agriculture produce locally gets purchased. There's value addition, which is down the value chain of agriculture. Further products are produced, local consumption has improved, and even local exportation from one community to the other, from one village to the other, from one state to the other. So gradually we are beginning to see some unleashment of the entrepreneurial energy of the average Nigerian.
Tẹ́lẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀ oúnjẹ kan náà ni tá bá ti rí máléèjì jẹ láàárọ̀, a máa mú mi sí yòókù títí di alẹ́ ká tó wá nǹkan tá jẹ. Ṣùgbọ́n ní ìsìn tó di yí pé wọ́n ṣàánú wa, wọ́n bùn wá lówó yìí, àyípadà dáadáa ti bá wa.
Cash transfer beneficiaries are mined based on eligibility criterion from NSR. The NSR provides an opportunity for poor and vulnerable households, PVHHs, to be identified, considered, and registered for CCT through a combination of geographic and community-based targeting mechanisms. Beneficiary enrollment into the CCT is done through the following process: community mobilization and stakeholder sensitization, beneficiary sensitization, data capture and issuance of program identification cards. There is a balanced distribution of beneficiaries across the country based on state quota.
Specifically in alignment with state population and poverty headcount of National Living Standards Survey, NLSS statistics of 2018 and 2019. In percentage, Northwest represents 40% of those that are considered to be very poor. The Northeast has 20%, North Central 15%, Southwest 4%, Southeast 13%, and South-South 7% of the estimated population in poverty.
The program aims at achieving the following outcomes: improved household consumption, increased utilization of health and nutrition services, improved school enrollment, attendance, and completion, improved environmental sanitation and management, beneficiaries engaged in sustainable livelihood, assets and financial acquisition. Interventions under the CCT include base cash transfer, top-up cash transfer, livelihood. The base cash transfer. This provides monthly base cash transfer of 5,000 naira to the beneficiary households. The transfer is to help smoothen consumption and encourage development of savings culture. The top-up cash transfer. This is an additional 5,000 naira given to a subset of the beneficiaries based on their level of compliance to co-responsibility. Beneficiaries who qualify for the top-up cash transfer are required to participate in at least one of the following co-responsibility areas: education, environment, health and nutrition that contributes to their human capital development. Livelihood component. The livelihood component complements the cash transfers to support targeted households to move out of extreme poverty. This is to ensure they build an enterprise mindset, establish sustainable income-generating activities, and become self-reliant to facilitate their graduation out of program.
The National Beneficiary Register supports the conditional cash transfer, and that is the one that is used to pay people the 5,000 per household, and we monitor them. Believe me, the level of clarity and scrutiny in that data. For each of these data sets, you can get the GPS, the picture of the key person responsible for that collection, whether that person is still collecting or has relocated or has been changed, or even if the person has died and a new person has been replaced with that. That is the kind of quality data I've seen here.
There is also an opportunity for people to, community members or even civil society members to actually complain on behalf of the community for people that have been included in error. And this is very critical because again, there is no perfect system, but our system is designed to, as much as possible, optimize resources and ensure that, the right people get the right support.
The NCTO operates a complementary intervention termed Cash Plus. In addition to the cash benefit, the capacity of the beneficiary households is built around savings and group mobilization, life skill, and micro-business development skill to enable them break the cycle of generational poverty and create room for human capital development and sustained livelihoods. The cash transfer payment system is fully digitized and has paved way for beneficiaries' financial inclusion.
They tell us, better don't come, that they won't do us well. As we no get person who go help us, we then talk to us all. After all, then come give us money.
Bí eré bí àwàdà tó di pé wọ́n fún wa ní owó lóṣooṣù tí a sì ń gba owó yìí a fi ń jẹun, àwọn ọmọ bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí lọ iléèwé, ìgbésí ayé wa bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí dá, àwa lọ kọ́ bí wọ́n ṣe ń ṣe ọṣẹ, àlọ́kọ́ bí wọ́n ṣe ń ṣe ìpara, àwa náà kọ́, ó di pé àwa náà ń ṣe wẹ́rẹ́ láwọn èèyàn sì bá wa rà débi pé owó tó ń wọlé sí tí ò sí ìnira kankan fún wa mọ́.
Wọ́n lana na jitira a sakatariya. Ajiya biya mamu kudi na kawo post na like kudi din na rawa na ce zan kai gida kwa zan kai gida kwa zan kai na like kudi na haka da na kai gida na ce ku yi dariya mana yara ba su yi fara dariya ba na cire post na yaji shi na ce ku ga kudi ta yara sun fara lawa muna rawa gida mu
zan kai gida.
The program started with 8 states: Kogi, Kwara, Oyo, Osun, Bauchi, Cross River, Niger, Ekiti, and 3 internally displaced persons camps in Borno State, with 46,667 beneficiary households. The program to date
has successfully enrolled close to 2 million households in the National Register who receive this bi-monthly cash transfer across 48,789 communities, 6,267 wards, and then 609 local government areas out of the 774 local government areas that we have in the country. And this covers 36 states, all the 36 states, and the Federal Capital Territory.
Success stories abound on how well the program has affected the lives of the beneficiaries. With series of development over the past 5 years, the program has fully migrated beneficiaries' payment from offline to online real-time payment using Nubank accounts opened by payment service providers, PSPs, who are licensed by the Central Bank of Nigeria.
The delivery system for the cash transfer program has evolved slowly from table cash payment to digital payment, where beneficiaries receive stipends directly into their Nubank accounts opened by the payment service providers. And these providers are licensed by the Central Bank of Nigeria. So I can say we have achieved a lot in this respect, and with this development, the system is put in place to enhance accountability, reconcilability, secured payment and transparency of the cash transfer investment. And also it is an initiative that we can authoritatively say that has achieved financial inclusion for beneficiaries in rural low infrastructure areas.
The National Cash Transfer Program has already been institutionalized with the creation of the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development. The structure that exists with the National Cash Transfer Program, which encapsulates the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT, domiciling the programs in designated ministry, had begun the institutionalization process. As it is today, all states of the Federation have carried out this program from ward to local government levels by designated government offices in the states, which report directly to the national office, and by translation reports to the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development. So in a nutshell, you would say that the process had been institutionalized with the creation of the ministry.
I see in the next 5 years that the activities of this ministry will be enhanced, more resources will go to people, and people will create more wealth. The wealth will be recycled. You will see a lot of informal enterprises becoming formal. You will see the GDP of Nigeria increasing based on the economic activities of people. You will see our agriculture maturing to the next level because farmers will be performing better, because all this conditional cash transfer will now start maturing, and you will see more children in school because the economic activity at the rural community level would have been enhanced. You will see less vulnerable people who are totally vulnerable. And my expectation, in summary, literally will see that more Nigerians will be out of poverty. I estimate at least 75% of Mr. President's target.
The bank is also engaging in technical assistance and policy dialogue with the government to provide additional support needed, but also to bring in international expertise and best practices and engage in the government's effort to achieve the vision of alleviating poverty.
The money is getting to the poor, and there is a huge difference. And what are the key differences that I can point to? First, there is high level of transparency, the inclusion of civil society to monitor, keep an eye on what goes on. And then two, the beneficiary, we're able to assess them, and they're able to give us their testimony through our monitors we have deployed across the country. That for me is something that is remarkable and something that sends a strong signal that partnership is working in this contest. And putting that forward again is reinforces the cooperation that exists between the Swiss, the Nigerian government, and the World Bank.
The program is scaling up to reach out to more people using existing delivery systems to provide economic shock response cash transfer to poor and vulnerable households drawn from the National Social Register and Rapid Response Register. The implementation of the cash transfer program is fast ensuring the actualization of Mr. President's vision of lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty.
Allah ya ji kukana yadda ni ma na samu ina son kowa ma shi ma wanda ke cikin hali irin nawa Allah ubangiji ya sa wannan tallafin shi ma taimaka masa shi ma ya huta irin nawa.
It is anticipated that NCTO will institutionalize a sustainable system for providing social assistance to the poor in the long run and a national platform for the delivery of humanitarian interventions in Nigeria.